Killing me just put it in.
Take a alphabet and lens cap off. Focus, eh? That's what the action.
Pretty broken, sure.
You did a pan out.
Thank you for joining us for a small celebration. It really starts off the celebration all along the front, as we were the first here 48 years ago. And to people who haven't been here before, I explain that I just say a few words right up to 16 minutes past midnight when the first glider landed on this very spot. There was German wire right through the spot, and the glider pilot did more work, but it got the way through the wire. I'm glad to say we have another glider pilot who landed in this LZ with us, Jeff Parkway. He flew in number 3 glider, which broke in half and threw one man into the pond with his gun, and he was drowned. It was quite a bad landing. About 10 or 11 of my men are here tonight, including one of the 2 commanders, Todd Sweeney, who landed on the river bridge, now known as Water Bridge. And for the next few minutes I will just explain what it felt like in the glider coming into land. Channels held by Halifax bombers at 6,000 feet, Our 6 gliders line astern, as I say, 100 input. We took off from Para Ex Normandy, a small airfield near Bournemouth. I was in the leading glider and hoped to be the first one down, but of course on a night operation we came up to shore, and we had trained very, very hard for this operation. 6 weeks before that I was briefed at the end of May, and for security reasons, of course, men couldn't be told. About now, it's after 12, we're approaching the French coast. Each horse glider had 30 men in it, and there were 3 for this landing zone, to deal with the canal bridge, the little bridge, and 3 to go to the landing zone near the Orme River Bridge. Because the route of our gliders was longer, in that after it crossed the coast, it went due south towards Orme, beyond these bridges, down the line of the other side of the Orme. It then did a right-hand turn for a minute or so, and then another right-hand turn, and so came in from that direction, in the direction of Orme, into this triangular shape figure. As we cast off, the glider pilots gave us the tip at the wrong course, because it was the responsibility of the bombers to navigate us to the precise spot for the cast off over the coast this side of Kabul. And having done that, after cast off, and coming in for about 7 minutes, we were entirely in the hands of the 2 glider pilots in each quarter. One glider pilot driving the downgrade machine, the other one responsible for navigation, for the compass and the wristwatch. And he knew that he had to go for so many minutes, so many seconds on the first bearing, and turn the right hand for another minute or so, and then another, and keep the right hit, to run in. And of course, as they turned to the second run in, they had the sight of the Orme River across there, and the canal here, which gave them a guide as far as direction. But the great thing, of course, was the British prepared for demolition, was to get here to capture them intact. They were the orders. And in order to do that, we had to have complete surprise. To get that surprise, they decided the gliders were better than parachutes, because parachutes can cover quite an area when they jump out of a plane. A stick of 20 can cover anything up to a mile or so. And by the time they got together, rendezvous, found their canisters with weapons in, it took an hour before they could form up to attack. Whereas the glider with 33 armed men can jump out of the glider and attack immediately. The job was to get the glider in the right place at the right time. So in all our training, we've practiced all competitions of landing, two job, 1 2 job, or even one of the 2 gliders landing in the wrong airfield, landing zone. We've done this with the practice with the general of getting out of the gliders as soon as possible. As I've said so many times before, we were extremely vulnerable when we came into land, and as we got up, one enemy machine gun trained on the glider could wipe out the whole 30 men before we had a chance to fire a shot back, because we're all sitting in those gliders just waiting to crash land. Up to then, in all our training for us, we landed on airfields, a relatively quiet landing. We finished up in heaven sometimes, and I'm not degrading Jeff Bark or any of his colleagues, but it was inevitable sometimes for me to the weather. But here we're landing on a very, very bumpy field, a very tiny field, on the left, along the side of the canal and between us and the canal, we're lying a very high trees. On the right, you know, there's a pond, and on D-Day, that pond was a bit higher than it is now. And so the glider pilots had to get the between the trees, because they lit just one wing on that, which would tip the whole thing in, and we were overloaded. We knew we were overloaded, so much so that we had to tip up one man before we come in order to take it. I was given the choice of more ammunition or one more man, and I decided ammunition. Right? We're halfway down the first leg. And the thing we did as soon as we got down from 6,000 to 1,000 feet was broke the doors. There are two doors on a horse's rider, one at the front, one at the back, and they rolled up into the roof. Two Commander Dead brothers were sitting next to me. He undid his safety belt. We sit facing one another in those riders. We've got safety belts, no parachutes to push, we're not a chance to use them. He undid his safety belt, leant forward, and I precariously held his equipment, and the sergeant who was sitting next to him on the other side did the same. And he leant forward and pulled up the door into the roof, and I immediately looked through the, because I was sitting almost opposite, at the fields of Normandy. I could see the cattle grazing quietly, this wonderful livestock around here, horses, cows and what have you. Quite used to all the bombers that were coming over, because we'd come over in 1,000 bomber raids, the other bombers that were going on to bomb rail yards, crossroads, all the things that would impede the enemy bringing up reserves the next day once the seaborne landings had taken place. Seaborne landings were due to come in 7 hours later.